Hello and welcome to Papa Hector's podcast today. Today's topic is Jesus rejects Christianity, Muhammad rejects Islam, Buddha rejects Buddhism. And as usual, make sure that you click subscribe. This podcast can be found on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Stitcher, as well as Spotify. You can also find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Look up Hungan Hector and check us out at Hector Salva, HectorSalva.com for all of our great stuff. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter where you'll get all the updates, blog posts, so on and so forth. So, today's topic is an awesome one. Jesus rejects Christianity. Muhammad rejects Islam. Buddha rejects Buddhism. So let's start by getting one thing straight, is that Jesus Christ was never a Christian. Jesus Christ was not a Christian. Muhammad was not a Muslim. And Buddha was not a Buddhist. Islam, Christianity, Buddhism doesn't arrive until after these prophets and spiritual people die and pass away. And what you have now as Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism are religions, okay? And these religions are not true and congruent with what was taught by the various spiritual masters. Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha were all spiritual mystics. They were all mystic, spiritual individuals. Okay? They were not religious individuals. In fact, in their time, everyone around them thought they were crazy. Tons of people thought they were crazy. It wasn't until way after their death that people started to recognize that actually they weren't crazy and started to follow these religions. And that's one of the major differences between the path that I teach and the religious path, okay? There's a big difference between religion and spirituality. But before we get into that, we have to understand that Jesus did not preach or practice Christianity. Jesus did not promote Christianity. So let's define religion. Religion is defined by the dictionary as belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially personal gods or God. Okay? An organized system of beliefs, ceremonies, and rules used to worship a god or gods. Versus the definition of spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human solar spirit as opposed to material and physical things. So, religion is concerned with a set of texts, practices, and beliefs about God or the big questions, transcendent topics. And spirituality is about your relationship with those transcendent topics and with your relationship as a human being, which may or may not involve your relationship with God. Okay? Spirituality has a broader definition. But basically, spirituality is concerned with God on the inside and your relationship with your soul and God, whereas religion is concerned with people outside of you telling you what to believe or what is God. In fact, all religions have dogmas, which is principles or sets of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. So that means that these principles, or the set of principles, is given to you by an authority that says that they're true. Okay? They're accepted beliefs that people are expected to accept and believe in without question. These are core beliefs that may or may not rest in reality, may or may not be real. But because they're set down by an authoritative figure, they're held as absolutely being true. Spirituality is concerned with your development as a human consciousness and your soul, your spirit, and your relationship with God. You creating that personal relationship, developing that personal connection, and having direct experiences with the divine or with God or with the larger forces at play. Religion is a set of beliefs that has been given to you about God that you've accepted. Religion is based upon a group of beliefs that has been given to you, not based on your experience. Okay? And religion is the tool of government. Religions are actually governments. They're huge governments. And they're tools of government in order to control society and control you. In fact, all religious info, okay, has been proven to have been worked with by government in order to tailor it to the government's ends or what the government wanted to achieve. Okay? So if you hold yourself as being a religious person, it means that you believe what you were told to believe. You are given your beliefs. You don't have direct experience. Okay? A spiritual person is working on the development of a direct relationship and a direct experience, as well as their own human spirit or soul, and expanding that with God, expanding one's consciousness, expanding one's divine nature. Jesus didn't believe in Christianity, and he still don't. Muhammad didn't believe in Islam, nor did Buddha believe in Buddhism. Okay? And if we look at current Buddhism, Islam, or Christianity, and we were to bring back Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha back to life, they would all reject the way these things are done, the beliefs, and many of the other things that are being purported. Many religions are not in service at all to God, although that's what they claim. They actually claim that they're against Satan or the devil. But in actuality, they promote the devil. Who they actually serve is the devil. The devil that they claim to hate. Why? Because it's in religious context that you given the fear, but all the power is given to the devil. You constantly have to be afraid of the devil's threats and what the devil is going to do, or what Satan or Shaitan or whatever you want to call it, demons or this is going to do, because they're so powerful. The devil is constantly talked about, and what you talk about, you give energy to, you give strength to. That's where you're spending your energy at. That's where you're investing your energy. The devil is actually a major focus of most organized religions, or evil, the battle of good and evil. Okay? Religion also helps to give you sin and guilt, shame, fear, and break you down as an individual. Okay? Most of religions are not religions of life, but rather religions of death. The focus is death. Everything is your focus on your life after death. And anything that can be about life, sexuality, living, dancing, enjoying life, is evil. Life is rejected on all ways and terms. And instead what's promoted is death. You're supposed to be constantly focused on what's going to happen to you, heaven or hell, afterwards. And your life is only significance is whether or not it's going to get you to heaven or hell. So your life's significance is not about life, but it's about death. By and large, there's been a huge wave for people to become less religious and more spiritual. However, there are many, many, many parrots in the world. Okay? What I mean is they go on spouting things that they don't truly understand. They're just parroting what other people have told them. And much of what people call quote unquote spiritual is just a packaged version of religion. Okay? In order to really grow spiritually, you gotta drop your religious nonsense. You have to be able to drop a lot of that programming and that crap that has been handed over to you. And so a lot of that gets basically deemed spiritual is repackaged religion under spirituality. And so people are not able to make the progress that they really want to make because you cannot learn and progress from someone who is actually still religiously programmed, but now they're just serving a different way. And religion has programmed humanity for thousands of years. Religion has tried to make what is not natural elevated and what is natural demonized. Okay? What God actually gave you, nature, the trees, the sun, the mountains, sex, your heart, your feelings, emotions, love, beauty, abundance. But God has also given you hate, envy, jealousy. Okay? And religion rejects all that which God has given you. We destroy that which God has made. Many religions choose to destroy nature in order to build temples to God. So you're destroying what God made so that you can make something better than what God made for you to worship God. Instead of worshiping God in the beauty of what was given by God exactly, right off the bat, naturally. Religion condemns a whole side of who you are and of your nature, which is natural for you, which was given to you by God, and elevates that which is not natural. Most religions push towards pushing people to live unnaturally. And there's been many creations and many things that you believe and many things that you practice and how you live that have been influenced or became a dogma in society. Okay, a set of beliefs that must be true because it's by an authority, a society dogma that actually comes from humanity's long relationship with religion. Very long relationship with religion. Spirituality as I said, is becoming very popular. Jesus did not teach Christianity. I'm going back into this again. Muhammad did not teach Islam, and Buddha did not teach Buddhism. None of those things existed. And Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, as they are now, none of those things existed. In fact, Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad, everyone thought they were crazy. There was everyone around who thought they were crazy. And the large majority thought these individuals were crazy. And at those times, these things were considered cults. Jesus was in the middle of leading a cult. He was a cult leader. Muhammad was a cult leader. Buddha was a cult leader. It's funny how things have changed. And when Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha died, people and politicians and the masses saw the way that this could be used to control others and people in power, and they set up a religion around it, around Christianity, around Judaism. Same thing with Judaism, it's a religion. Set up a religion around these things. But if we look at the essential teachings of these three masters, we see that there's very much the same within the teachings. And if we strip away the religion and we only keep the teachings of the masters, what we find is something very different than what is being currently taught, spewed, and spouted all over by religious leaders. If we strip all this down, okay, what it comes down to is your union with the divine. And each teacher spoke within the culture that they were born in, with the language that they had, and the language of the culture and where people were at the time to be able to understand their message. And Jesus was so, in that time, considered crazy and far way advanced for his time, that he became crucified, in fact, because of this. It's funny that I've had a number of people who've come to me who said that they, for a minute, they thought I was crazy. And after sitting with things and after receiving some of my teachings and receiving the teachings here and receiving spiritual work here and seeing the results in life and changes in their life, okay, they realized that actually I was the sane one and everyone else was crazy. And as I explained to these individuals, just like Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha, who are all trying to lead people towards happiness, beauty, abundance, true happiness, real union, real love, all these things were all considered crazy at their time. But yet, it was actually them speaking the truth. The truth is, the majority is the crazy. Okay? And society doesn't want you to be led towards happiness, love, success, and abundance. Because if you have that, you can't get used. Society uses you like a workhorse. They have certain goals for you, but those are not necessarily aligned and congruent with your goals for yourself. So always the person who's speaking the truth is going to be the crazy one, the person who's leading you towards happiness and unity and peace and bliss. Because if you've ever had true bliss before, you know that it's absolutely amazing. And if you've ever had true happiness before, you know that it's absolutely amazing. And yet, when you have that, no one can use you. You can't be abused and used because you're happy. And because you have bliss, and you have love, and you have success, and you have peace. As long as they can keep you without these things, they can keep you working and working, thinking you will reach these things. But there is no real promise you will, and the truth is, you more than likely won't. There's many people who have achieved the things that were supposed to make them happy in the world and have committed suicide. Anthony Bourdain, for those of you who know him, that famous chef dude, or the famous dude who ate all the food and tasted all the food, had one of the best lives ever. Had everything that could be success. Lived in fancy hotels. Most of his life he was spending in fancy hotels, eating fancy food, tasting food, traveling. He had tons of money, everything that the world would have claimed. And yet he committed suicide. And so on, we can go on, so on and so on, with many, many stars and things of this nature. But I'm not going to bore you with all that. We all know this to be true. Okay? Because what you really, really need, your truest need, which we know what it is here. Okay? Your truest need, what you really need, the world can't give you. They won't give you. And even though they won't give it to you, they can't give it to you, and they're not going to show it to you. They're not really going to show you what it really is that you really, really need in order to truly be on the road to happiness and achieve that. But if you stay tuned with me, I am going to do a podcast of what you actually need that they'll never tell you. And it'll be highly illuminating for you. However, Jesus, Mohammed, Buddha were all considered crazy in their time. By many, the majority considered them very crazy because they were leading people to something greater. And now, okay, after their death, religions sprung up around them, and they were used as figureheads. And many people who practice their religion are not actually practicing the teachings. And the teachings have been obscured. But again, they were all crazy back then. And that's why they had certain problems and issues that they had back then. And those who are going to lead you towards something greater, a bigger vision, a bigger thing for yourself, are going to be seen generally as the crazy ones. So that's just something to take into account there. And like I said, of course the world doesn't want to see you reach that. But when you really sit back or start to walk on this path with me, and you really start to walk on this path and see, and you're achieving those things, you'll also come to learn and sit back and see that the truth is not crazy at all. It's just that they don't want you to have it. So, that's the end of this podcast. I hope that all of you are doing well. Don't forget, go ahead and subscribe to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Check me out at hectorsalva.com. hectorsalva.com is where you'll find my blog. You'll sign up for the newsletter, and there you'll get all of my newsletters, all my cool stuff. We actually put out a few newsletters, I think, in these last 2 weeks of information. I mean, blog posts. So you might want to check that out. God bless you, all of you, and keep the faith.